All right, today we're going to talk a little bit about heat-related illness in our pets. Dogs and cats can get heat stroke and heat exhaustion just like people can. It can vary in severity just like people. It can start out with just really mild symptoms that include just stomach upset and exhaustion, and can become as severe as actually having multiple organ failure and death. So one of the most common scenarios that we all think of when we think about heat stroke in dogs is the dog that's left in the car on a hot day. And the difficulty with the car is that it doesn't really have to be that hot out in order for the interior of the car to get really extremely warm. Even on a day like today where it was about 60-65 degrees out, but it was sunny, the inside of my vehicle when I left for lunch at lunchtime today, it was sitting out in the parking lot for 4 hours, was actually 120 degrees, and that was on a 65-degree day. So it doesn't take a lot for the interior of your car to heat up. So that's one of the things that you really need to consider when you're taking your dog in the car with you, even just to run errands. The other things that we oftentimes will see that people don't realize is that dogs need to acclimate to the summertime weather just like people do. So when we start having our really hot, humid weather at the beginning of summer, the dogs need some time for their bodies to adjust to those temperature and humidity changes. And they don't have the ability to sweat like we do, so their cooling mechanisms are quite inefficient when we have a lot of humidity. That being said, the beginning of summertime and really active dogs is actually one of the times that we see the most difficulties with heat stroke and heat exhaustion. The other time that we see it is in the kind of the dog days of summer where we are really high temperatures and our dogs are outside most of the day just having fun, but they're in and out of the water and they're doing a lot of activity. And dogs, unfortunately, have fur coats, and so it's one of the things that they don't cool efficiently because of their fur coats, but also they have very little area on their body where they can actually sweat and cool themselves. Their cooling mechanism typically actually goes through their panting, and they don't lose a lot of body heat that way, and it takes energy to do that too. Now, a temperature is something that can be taken in a dog just like it can in a person. Unfortunately, dogs have to have rectal temperatures taken, which is not necessarily a fun thing to do. But if you have a suspicion that your dog is having a reaction to the heat, it is a good thing to do regardless of how uncomfortable it might be for you or your dog. A rectal thermometer can be bought at any typical drugstore. You can buy them at Target and Walmart. And you do want to use a little bit of lubricant on the end of the thermometer when you do insert it into the rectum. Typical normal dog temperature is 101 to 101.5 degrees Fahrenheit. And so their body temperature is higher than ours, but when we start seeing body temperatures rising up above 104, 105 degrees, we start getting into an area where we potentially can cause organ damage. And so when you take your dog's temperature, if your dog's body temperature is above 103 on a hot summer day, you need to get your dog inside into a cool area. The best ways to cool your dog are actually to use lukewarm water and not ice cold water, because ice cold water can actually perpetuate the hot body temperature in the core of the body. It actually creates constriction of the blood vessels in the extremities, which then centers the heat producing mechanisms and retains heat in the center of the body, which is really significantly bad for the organs. And so what we want to do is use lukewarm water, and we want to try and focus on getting the dog's undercarriage, so across the dog's chest and its belly, the insides of its legs, and down the legs and on the feet. And those areas are the areas where we get more of the core of the body to cool the dog more efficiently. But again, we want to use warm water, not cold water, because we don't want to shock the system. The other thing that you can do if your dog's body temperature is significantly elevated is to actually apply rubbing alcohol to the pads of their feet. The pads of their feet is actually the one place on their bodies they can sweat, and it actually will help to improve the evaporation of the surface area there, and can actually help to cool the body down as well.